I think one of the biggest things that I love about Spider-Man as a character in itself is the fact that no matter what happens to him, like despite all of the odds, everybody's stacked against him, he still presses forward and shines through it all in the end. And one of the best stories that I actually want to cover today on this channel is quite honestly one of like the craziest events in Spider-Man's history, because the odds are completely stacked against Spider-Man in this short story. Green Goblin has bombed pretty much the entire city. New York hates Spider-Man, and also he doesn't know if Aunt May is going to survive a surgery or not. At this point in time, Peter Parker feels like giving up, but he presses forward and shines through and gives his all for New York. And it's such a huge testament to the character of Spider-Man. It's crazy, so I want to talk about it today. As we open the story, Green Goblin is absolutely batshit insane at this point. He thinks that he's killed Spider-Man, and he's just laughing maniacally the whole time, like talking nonsense. He's just incomprehensible. And all over New York, it's a complete travesty. There are buildings on fire, goblin bombs still going off around the city, and Green Goblin is just sitting there webbed up, saying that he's killed Spider-Man over and over again, while Spider-Man just thinks that this is all crazy, that Spider-Man has just brought nothing but terror to the world. And so tired of the Green Goblin's nonsense and dealing with a broken rib and worrying about Aunt May, he just figures that the cops can handle Green Goblin at this point. And while he walks away, he looks at J. Jonah Jameson, and J. Jonah Jameson is just disgusted by Spider-Man, and Spider-Man can't even believe the gall on him to be disgusted with Spider-Man, the man that saved New York. As J. Jonah Jameson has the nerve to just ask his employees to start working on the next newspaper while everything is completely covered in rubble. So in the meantime, while J. Jonah Jameson is yelling at his employees to get back to work, Spider-Man's spider sense goes off like crazy, and a bomb lodged inside of a pillar in the Daily Bugle is about to go off as Green Goblin goes, "Boom, the end of the world. Boom, it all falls down. Boom!" Spider-Man immediately knows what's about to happen, so he rushes over to the Daily Bugle before the bomb goes off, telling everyone to clear the area now, as the pumpkin bomb soon explodes and the building starts to crumble before all of the people surrounding it. But once the dust settles, one of the people in the crowd points to the building and says that it stopped falling. What happened? To which everyone can see Spider-Man holding up the building by a single pillar. Spider-Man, using every single ounce of his strength, tries to hold up this building as much as possible, while praying that Aunt May gets through her surgery safely. During the chaos, police try to manage the crowd and get them out of there safely. People inside of the building are freaking out, screaming for help and to be saved, and J. Jonah Jameson through this all is screaming that it's Spider-Man's fault. Screaming to Spider-Man while holding up the Daily Bugle that "You did this, Spider-Man. If you live through this, I swear by everything I believe, I'm going to find some way to destroy you. The world is going to know you for the menace you are. Do you hear me, Spider-Man? I'm going to destroy you. Destroy you!" During all of this havoc, Green Goblin taunts Spider-Man from the sidelines as he gets carted away, while news reporters all report from the scene, broadcasting Spider-Man's life or death situation, trying to hold up the Daily Bugle from collapsing around himself. As Spider-Man says in his inner monologue that it's just too much, he can't do this, he can't hold up this building forever. Meanwhile, through all of this chaos, the news reporter interviews several different people inside of the crowd on whether or not they like Spider-Man. Half of the people inside of the crowd try to say that he's just trying to do the right thing, and people just can't see past the mask sometimes. While other people hate Spider-Man because they see that if Spider-Man never existed, none of this shit would have ever happened. And some people just all around think he's cute, or people just don't know who Spider-Man is because they're from Ohio. The interviewer then goes to J. Jonah Jameson, who basically just spouts nonsense about Spider-Man being the most vile person on the planet, wishing that he never existed, and tells people that he's not a genuine hero because he hides behind a mask. Meanwhile, Mary Jane in the crowd roots for Peter, saying to herself that he knows he can do this because she loves him. Back to Spider-Man holding up the building with every last ounce of strength left in his body, says that the building is almost clear and his job is almost done. He's done enough. And looking at the crowds of people that either love and adore him or absolutely hate him, he thinks back to his mantra, "With great power, there must come great responsibility." Thinking to himself, what good has that mantra ever brought him? Uncle Ben is dead, Gwen Stacy died, and now Aunt May might die on the table as well, as 1,000 doubts start flooding his brain. Until Peter realizes that if he gives up right now and lets this building collapse over top of him, he lets the Goblin win. And he swore to himself after Gwen Stacy died that he would never let him win again, so he keeps fighting, lifting the building up, using strength he never knew he had before. He questions why he keeps fighting, and then he answers himself. For her, for Mary Jane. because he has to. Norman Osborn cannot ever win again. Lifting himself up with all of his might, he starts to scream, "Never again!" as he lifts up the entire building from sheer willpower. The crowd, looking upon Spider-Man lifting up the entire building, is in complete awe of him, as Spider-Man just attaches different pillars to hold up the building itself, webbing up every single pillar ever so intricately, while using every single web cartridge he has left, completely webbing up the entire Daily Bugle as he says to himself, "Never again. It's over." As Spider-Man looks back at the crowd from the entire Daily Bugle encompassed in webbing, telling them all that they need to move back because he doesn't know how long the webbing will hold. Meanwhile, J. Jonah Jameson tells everyone to arrest Spider-Man, screaming to Spider-Man that he'll make him hang for this, and when he's through with him, he's not going to be able to show his face in any part of New York ever again. But Spider-Man just says, "Knock yourself out, Jonah. I don't care anymore." As Spider-Man walks over to Mary Jane and thanks her for being here. Mary Jane then asks if he's okay, to which Spider-Man says not really, but he has no choice but to keep moving as he walks further into the smoke. Shortly after the fiasco, Peter arrives to the hospital with Mary Jane, and Aunt May is okay. She pulled through the surgery, as Peter cries tears of joy knowing that his Aunt May will be okay. Later that night, Peter starts a bonfire outside of his apartment with Mary Jane, as Peter holds the Spidey suit in his hands, with Mary Jane asking, "Are you sure about this?" Peter then looks over at Mary Jane and says, "It's over, Mary Jane. Norman, the Green Goblin, is out of my life. Aunt May is back. This is the only thing that stands between us and some sense of normalcy. So let's get on with our lives." As the Spidey suit burns in the bonfire, ending the story. I hope y'all like this story because this is one of my personal favorites, mostly because it just shows Spider-Man holding up an entire building and like, it's so absurd because everybody in the crowd is just like, "You're an asshole," or like, "You're a hero." Like, it's so crazy. It's like, and then J. Jonah Jameson has the gall to be like, "Arrest him," after Peter literally saved his company. It's just, it's so absurd, but it's also like a really good story. I also love like Green Goblin like rooting for his downfall on the sidelines. It's a perfect Spidey story. It's awesome. But I hope y'all like this, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and as always, I'll catch y'all on the flip side.